Mm. Okay. So this is to a degree on how things may and very well possibly can look. Uh, Something I'm playing around with. Um, very peculiar on how things should be moving and operating. Soundboard, remote, extra microphone in case if I wanted to have somebody else on the show. Uh, Call-ins is the next step that I want to do. I kind of liked how the website did that before. You know, had it can hold a certain cast or a panel of people uh, up, which I can make a scene for. I think that's pretty neat. Definitely important to have other people's information integrated into getting this need to know information out and about for everyone to know. Just like anything in life, I'm get used to the camera over here. Usually the camera's over here. Camera's over here. So usually in life, or after growing and being able to have the ability to learn and teach ourselves new things via research and able to cross-reference information to justify if something is true, false, or how does it sit. Usually something can generally give off a vibe or energy that you can feel, and you kind of should know if it's the truth. uh, I I like to separate myself from paradigms of society. Like, you have all sorts of paradigms, like just the way governments are ran. You have different sects and capitalism and socialism, and you have Republican, you got Democrat, you got religion, you got atheism, you got eternal life and reincarnation. But there's always something that somebody has some sort of tie to. Instead of analyzing the information and taking the pros out of that information, uh, and evaluating and cross-referencing it and kind of coming up with your own understanding of the information. And I want to say, if you are living life without a malice intention, like, you should be able to live free without this malice intention behind it. Because if you are living life with a malice intention, then that means that karma will circle back around to you, and you're going to reap what you sow. You're going to get what you deserve. It's just the cycle of balance in the yin and the yang. It's inevitable. You're going to get what you put out. Putting out positivity, you're going to most of the time get in return positivity. Now, at the same time, if you're emitting a certain amount of positivity, then somewhere else in the world there is someone exerting that negative energy to keep everything in balance, because it can't be unbalanced. Understanding this energy it's a whole nother level of a whole nother level of conception. Just as there's 10 million people in the world doing good, there's 10 million people in the world doing bad. Uh, just being intellectual enough to decipher some of these things, you know, the facts of the reality that there is a percentage of people in the population with malice intentions. They may not have reached out to go and get the information adequately due to the circumstances that they're trying, that you're living. You should be trying to better yourself. So when you're going out and getting information to better yourself, now all of a sudden you're going to come across all kinds of information that you are going to have to look at, decipher, and come to your own personal realization. Some people may come to a different realization than what you've come to, but being open to listen to the other person's point of view is it's really what it's all about. Like, I need to be able to listen to the other person's point of view or perspective on life because that is that person's reality. And then I've introduced my perspective retrospectively. That's my reality. This person introduces theirs. That's their reality. And if we can come up with something, I'm going to take the cons from your concept. I'm going to take the cons from their concept and cons from them concept and put them all in the same category. And I'm going to take all the pros and put them all in the same category. And then that's how I sift the wheat from the whey, more or less speaking. But yeah, this is just a little test run. Need to know info. I kind of like that. It's catchy. But well, so this is the Living Proof podcast. And the name of this is "Are We Being Controlled?" Is it? Eh? This is something we produced over the last year at One Life to Play.
A false flag refers to an attack where a vessel flies a flag other than their true battle flag before engaging their enemy. It is a trick designed to deceive the enemy about the true nature and origin of an attack. In the democratic era, where governments require at least a plausible pretext before sending their nation to war, it has been adapted as a psychological warfare tactic to deceive a government's own population into believing that an enemy nation has attacked them. In the 1780s, Swedish King Gustav III was looking for a way to unite an increasingly divided nation and raise his own falling political fortunes. Deciding that a war with Russia would be a sufficient distraction, but lacking the political authority to send the nation to war unilaterally, he arranged for the head tailor of the Swedish Opera House to sew some Russian military uniforms. Swedish troops were then dressed in the uniforms and sent to attack Sweden's own Finnish border post along the Russian border.
Wow.
The citizens in Stockholm, believing it to be a genuine Russian attack, were suitably outraged, and the Swedish-Russian War of 1788 to 1790 began. In 1931, Japan was looking for a pretext to invade Manchuria.
Got to play both
On
sides.
September 18th of that year, a lieutenant in the Imperial Japanese Army detonated a small amount of TNT along a Japanese-owned railway in the Manchurian city of Mukden. The act was blamed on Chinese dissidents and used to justify the occupation of Manchuria just 6 months later. When the deception was later exposed, Japan was diplomatically shunned and forced to withdraw from the League of Nations. In 1939, Heinrich Himmler masterminded a plan to convince the public that Germany was the victim of Polish aggression in order to justify the invasion of Poland. It culminated in an attack on
those toxic dudes,
a German radio station near the Polish border, by Polish prisoners who were dressed up in Polish military uniforms, shot dead, and left at the station. The Germans then broadcast an anti-German message in Polish from the station, pretended that it had come from a Polish military unit that had attacked Sender Gleiwitz, and presented the dead bodies as evidence of the attack. Hitler invaded Poland immediately thereafter, starting World War II.
Interesting.
In 1954, the Israelis hired a number of Egyptian Jews to plant bombs in American and British cinemas, libraries, and other civilian targets, to be blamed on the Muslim Brotherhood or other malcontents. The plan, known as the Lavon Affair, was part of an effort to convince the British to retain their military presence in the occupied Suez Canal zone. Several bombings took place, but the British were ultimately forced out after Nasser nationalized the canal in 1956. In 1962, the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff authored a document called Operation Northwoods, calling for the U.S. government to stage a series of fake attacks, including the shooting down of military or civilian U.S. aircraft, the destruction of a U.S. ship, sniper attacks in Washington, and other atrocities, to blame on the Cubans as an excuse for launching an invasion. President Kennedy refused to sign off on the plan and was killed in Dallas the next year. In August 1964,
so much negative
the USS
energy.
Maddox, a U.S. destroyer on patrol in the Gulf of Tonkin, believed it had come under attack from North Vietnamese Navy torpedo boats, engaging in invasive action and returning fire. The incident led to the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, authorizing President Johnson to begin open warfare in Vietnam. It was later admitted that no attack had occurred, and in 2005 it was revealed that the NSA had manipulated their information to make it look like an attack had taken place. In June 1967, the Israelis attacked the USS Liberty, a U.S. Navy technical research ship off the coast of Egypt.
At least that's what
the ship
it's
was
told.
strafed repeatedly for hours in an apparent attempt to blame the attack on Egypt and draw the Americans into the Six-Day War, but amazingly the crew managed to keep it afloat. In 2007, newly released NSA intercepts confirmed that the Israelis knew they were attacking an American ship, not an Egyptian ship as their cover story had maintained. In the fall of 1999, a wave of bloody apartment bombings swept through Russian cities, killing 293 people and causing widespread panic. Although blamed on the Chechen terrorists that the Russians were fighting in the Second Chechen War, FSB agents were caught planting the exact same type of bombs as in the other blasts later that month.
That was literally just in a movie that I watched.
And Vladimir Putin came to power as
that
the
whole
next Russian
scenario
president on the back of the terror wave later that year. In 2001, attacks in New York and Washington were blamed on Al-Qaeda as a pretext for invading Afghanistan. In the months leading up to the event, American negotiators had warned Afghanistan's Taliban that they were interested in securing right-of-way for proposed pipeline projects, and the U.S. would achieve this with either a carpet of gold or a carpet of bombs.
Interesting.
The Bush administration's first major national security directive, a full-scale battle plan for the invasion of Afghanistan, including command and control, air and ground forces, and logistics, was drafted and sitting on the president's desk to be signed off on September 4th, 2001, 7 days before the 9/11 attacks. The invasion proceeded as planned in October. These are but a few of the hundreds of such incidents that have been staged over the centuries to blame political enemies for attacks that they did not commit. The tactic remains in common use today, and will continue to be employed as long as populations still blindly believe whatever their governments tell them about the origins of spectacular terror incidents.
All right, so that is just a piece of information that my boy Walter brought to the light doing some research, and he goes forward and speaking upon the whole psychological operation that the government, that we are so lividly dependent on, is just finessing us, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. What else is there? Another reality. Kind of, I think maybe the financially part would also, or be considered economically. It's just unreal, but it's such a huge reality that we have no way to discern it. So we say something like it's unreal. You know what I mean? But this is the kind of stuff that I, as a person, delve into. You could say it's a quote unquote conspiracy theorist and all that stuff, but we go out and find and search the facts that they try to sweep under the rug. And then when you show those facts, it is cognitive dissonance from that person's reality because they can't conceive that anybody would be that cynical or malicious, as I like to say, uh, without any repercussions. Because them themselves live with a degree of morality. But the reality is that there's people who just literally don't care. It gives fucks. I try to give a fuck, right? Boop 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 boop. Beep 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 beep. Hey, this is 18 and this is 18. This is mature rated mature content. So this is PG-13 content. Uh, hey, it is what it is. This is gonna be fun. And also pretty soon, probably the Living Proof podcast is definitely on schedule to resume some information. And then at the same time, on my spare time, I like to call it leisure time because I'm a pretty busy person. I have all kinds of stuff going on for myself that I am created for myself. So I, as a man, will take care of those things that I have created or I am working towards in creating. Nothing easy about anything, but you choose to do it. Some of us are more in tuned to the energies, uh, and the way our perspective on life is that I could try overly hard, and the harder I work, the reward for what I worked for diminishes. Uh, if I'm working less for something and it comes natural to me, it doesn't feel like I'm working for it, then it's more rewarding of a feeling for me. But that's just the way I am. One's different. Um, Maybe because of that attitude is also on how I'm just good at some things. I may be bad at some things. Uh, can I point out a lot of the things that I'm bad at? Eh, somebody might say it's hooping, but come see me. Yo, I like to say that I beat tryhards all day. Try as hard as you want. I'm still gonna win. Well, anyhow, I'd like to go ahead and get off, and this is my test stream. I get to go back and watch this and see how it came out. I have a nice little break set up, stream ending, uh, and then I also want to create one more scene in this set, whereas we'll have a panel, have people speaking, have people talking about likewise stuff. It's not going to be really much debate. It's going to be more on sharing positive information. Uh, you know, I mean, I do social engineering tests on on social media all the time. I could share something that has zero relevance, zero importance, absolute bullshit. Uh, Chicks with thongs on, big booty hump day pictures. I did for a year straight. My social program, my social engineering test was I'm going to share on hump day a hump day picture of some supermodel chick for a whole year. And you best believe that there was people that said, "Hey, where's hump day? Where's the happy hump day? We're looking forward to the hump day." There were some people saying, "Hey, why are you sharing that and you're married? Why are you sharing this and that?" Well, don't you think this and that? Little do they know that my wife was helping me pick these pictures out. You know what I mean? So, uh, it definitely was neat. Playing around with things like that. I watched a video where there was like 15 people in a doctor's office, and every time there was a bell, everyone stood up, and everybody who entered the office knew, seen the people standing up in the office, and they began to stand up and sit down. Every time the bell went off, because that's what everyone else was doing. uh, you got to be outside the box, guys. You know, uh, can't just fall. It just showed that everyone would just fall into place and start doing uh, what they're taught, and then it's become self-taught, and it becomes something that is just ingrained in your way of thinking, subconsciously, without the teacher having to teach anymore. Okay, uh, looking at life as making knowledge your entertainment. So then when you do leisure time stuff, like maybe play some video games or go putt golfing, or go kart racing, go on vacation, when you go and do those things, it just has that much more meaning, because you're not just sitting on the couch for 8 hours binge watching Netflix. You're not just sitting around pretty much doing absolutely nothing to better your mind. And if the younger children in our responsibility is to upbring our children and not let television program our children. That's what, you know, uh, that's what they call it, programming. It's television programming. They are programming our children subconsciously for failure. And you'll be like, well, what are you, what? Like, I mean, if you literally analyze what happens on these cartoons, uh, in these movies, some of the most popular stuff, it is subconsciously brainwashing us to accept or believe something is correct because it's legal, or there was a reason that the bad guy did that. There's a reason for everything, but doesn't mean it's right. All right. Uh, Now that could be very touchy or a very iffy or a very sensitive topic, but that would be something that we would have a panel of people talking about, you know. And it wouldn't even, you could agree to disagree, or you could just totally blatantly disagree, but majority of the time, if you're an open philosophical thinker, you're open to opinion, you're open to learning about what and how other people are thinking around you, to make that melting pot of greatness, is respecting someone's opinion or respecting someone's culture, uh, which is, uh, quite blatantly, I think that they're trying to eradicate culture. And you say they, I mean, like, just you had religious law, and then man's like, oh, screw religious law. They made man's law, and then they're like, oh, screw man's law, let's make scientific law. And then it's like, oh, screw scientific law, we still want to have man's law, utilizing everything else that we've done. And it's just like, when will you ever be happy? And happiness truly comes within the person. No one can just make you happy. They can make you feel happy, but they can't make you genuinely happy. All right. But that's kind of stuff we talk about. That's just kind of stuff where we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, bettering and finding solutions to the problems. Everybody wants order out of chaos, or, chaos makes money. But if there's order, there isn't. Order is boring, chaos is fun. That's how we are programmed to believe, more or less. And we're gonna wake that up. We're gonna see the shit for what it is, like, and it just what it is. So it should be interesting. All right. And with that, I am getting off. Peace.